Fear nothing. Never be afraid. Welcome to the Condor DM show. Tonight I'm covering tunnels and trolls. I call this the early portion of the stream. Gives people a few minutes to get in before I hit the topic. So again, I'm covering tunnels and trolls. I would call it the birth of solo RPGs, solo role-playing games. Also, Tunnels and Trolls was made as a reaction to Dungeons and Dragons. I would almost call it the Jefferson Bible version of D&D. Imagine you took Dungeons and Dragons and stripped a lot of the technical stuff away from the game. You get Tunnels and Trolls. And that simplicity lends itself to solo role-playing. So I got a few guys in the audience that, like me, that are solo RPG guys. And I figured if I'm covering old school this year, I can't skip this game. This game's really important because it is the birthplace of what they do now, right? It's the designer knew that was a thing and designed the game where you didn't need a game master to play it. So we're going to cover that tonight, but I'm giving some people some time to roll in, get comfortable, relax. We're going to go over the whole thing, birth right up to the end. I'm even going to cover 5th edition. Tunnels and Trolls is a game that the change is little, very little. Oh, good evening, Black Rose. What's up? Glad to see you. So Tunnels and Trolls is a game that I would just say there's not a lot of variation. And when you hit 5th edition, there are more editions coming out, but it's more about maintaining what 5e was. When I say 5e, I'm talking about Tunnels and Trolls, of course, not D&D. I can't get around comparing the two games because Tunnels and Trolls is a direct reaction to Dungeons and Dragons. Its game designer wasn't a fan of the technical D&D game. So what did he do as a response to that? He made a more simple game, Tunnels and Trolls. It's really valuable. I always talk about Dungeons and Dragons giving you this unique freedom most other games would never give you. When I say most other games, there is an exception. Tunnels and Trolls. I mean, the toolkit of toolkits. When you say, what is Tunnels and Trolls? You can truly make Tunnels and Trolls whatever you want it to be. There's no expectation. The designer was not that hardcore about these things. Actually, that loose approach is what he was all about. That's where we get the game. He didn't like the tight approach of D&D. It was really whatever you made it. There was no real setting for Tunnels and Trolls. There was very little in variation when it came to races or classes, but it had these things. Like I said, it's a stripped down version of Dungeons and Dragons. That's really what it is. It's its own game in many ways, but it is a stripped down version. Because, again, this was the response of the game designer to the technical Dungeons and Dragons. It came out in 1975, so we're in old school land. That's where we're at. We're going to have a lot of fun tonight. I just don't want to start onto the topic until we get some people relaxed and comfortable, right? Or at least I give people time to get here. So I figured in the first few minutes, we could talk about a few things. Like, recently, I had asked a guy named Griff, a well-known person who's had some clashes with what we call the Bro OSR. And I felt like certain negativity going on there was overshadowing the past and the cool stuff that Wesley and other people had done. And I just wanted to talk to him and not focus on that drama and go, man, we keep forgetting all the cool stuff because it gets overshadowed by drama. The focus on drama means we're not talking about the fun stuff. I don't want to bring anybody on the stream to talk about that type of drama. I offered to interview him. Now, because of some situations he got into, he and some other people decided they really don't want to do interviews. I said, okay, but I did ask him if I can talk to him in private. So when I go to cover what he's done and Wesley's done, I can go to him and ask some questions and just make sure things line up. Because the approaches here for the content is all fact-based. I want to get things right. And I know those guys felt like they were a little insulted by some of the things that have gone on. So I'm like, I'm not here to do that. I want to get things right. So I want to have a connection with him down the line. I've created a connection. Sadly, again, he would not agree to the interview. There's another guy. I don't even know exactly how to say it. Aries, or Aries, something like that. I'll do a little promotion. I'll talk about him in the comment section of my community area. Promote his game a bit later. I told him though, if he was willing to come on, I do an interview. Right now he's a little busy, but when he's free, he's going to let me know, and we'll talk about his game. I was quite embarrassed, right? Me and him had a little bit of poke back and forth on different places over the years. Just happened. So I took a poke at him, but he was a complete gentleman and shamed me. I was quite embarrassed about the whole thing. It was so polite, and it was just, he floored me, because a lot of my fellow nerds, if I get into a little poke battle with them, it's a battle, right? He shamed me. He completely shamed me. I was embarrassed by it. So I said, dude, I owe you. I offered to bring him on the stream and do an interview. And I'm glad to see that my interviews and my approach has been appealing to people, right? They appreciate that I don't bring people on here for the wrong reasons. I don't sabotage anyone. I'm here to have a good time and talk about games. We're down to a few minutes before I start, right? So let's go over the details of what I'm going to cover tonight for the Tunnels and Trolls. And I appreciate all the compliments I've been getting lately. I'm glad everyone's liking the content. I'm going to try to just make this as interesting as I can make it. Make it just a beautiful night for everyone. So we're going to cover, of course, Tunnels and Trolls, the birth, the toolkit, combat versus AD&D, magic versus Dungeons and Dragons magic, races, classes, monsters, and then we'll focus on that solo part of the game. I'm going to finish it up by covering 5e, 5th edition, which is really the standard fare of Tunnels and Trolls, and the edition that most people have had an experience with. And so it's hard to talk about Tunnels and Trolls without talking about 5e, because so many people relate with that edition of the game. So I'm going to make sure I cover that at the end. That's it. I found the designer to be an interesting guy. He's not like he's a sort of quiet background gamer. He wasn't a war gamer. He wasn't a lot of things everybody else was. But he also wasn't a guy that really was a spotlight guy, I would say, personally. Very quiet background guy that liked to do the work, very humble with what he was doing. He did what he did out of principle, more than trying to be famous or be well known. So a lot of people don't know his name. So we'll cover a little tiny smidgen about him, going into the birth of the game, of course, right? So you can hear about him and you can go dig into him a bit more. I do got some other notes on him, and if I feel like the content isn't enough tonight, well, at the end, I'll bring up some notes I have about him, and we'll talk about it if I think that's worth the time, right? But we'll see. Couple minutes, folks. I hope you're ready. I'm excited about this, especially for the solo guys, because I've been a couple of solo guys supporting me over the years, and I just do the videos that I do. I'm a group tabletop role-playing game. I don't do the solo stuff. So it's hard for me to connect with them sometimes. Like Stephen Kennedy there's a solo guy. Always like having Stephen Kennedy around. I appreciate you getting here, my friend. Again, Tunnels and Trolls, the birthplace of solo RPGs. It's going to kick ass tonight. I mean, if you don't know anything about Tunnels and Trolls, you're going to, right? I'm going to give it all to you. So there's no excuse. Right? If you don't know what it is, now you're going to know what it is. That's where we're at. I'm really excited about it. And I think we're at the time to start, which is good. I've given people some time to get here. I hope some people get here in time, so we're going to go right into it. The birth of Tunnels and Trolls, 1975. The creator, Ken St. Andrew. Arizona-based gamer. Not a war gamer, not a rules lawyer. Just a guy who wanted to play fantasy without friction. Right? He didn't want a lot of the little things that he felt slowed down the game and just took away from what he wanted to do, which is something more simple. Get in and play, right? The key moment. Around 1975, Ken gets his hands on early Dungeons and Dragons. His reaction. This is cool, but why is it so clunky? His opinion, mind you. He didn't like tables everywhere. confusing combat flow, heavy reliance on wargame structure, the barrier, to entry. So instead of adapting to it, he made his own game, designed as the anti Dungeons and Dragons. Whew, man, there's a heated thing, right? Tunnels and Trolls, the anti Dungeons and Dragons. Now, a personal opinion, I still sort of call it the Jefferson Bible of the D&D world. If you stripped out a bunch of stuff, this is what you get, right? Where D&D came from miniatures plus wargaming, chainmail roots, Tunnels and Trolls came from let's just play a fantasy adventure fast. What he changed immediately? Well, combat simplified. That's the first thing, right? No complex turn structure. Roll dice, add number, compare totals. Done. Whoa. I wasn't sure there, Stephen Kennedy. I think we talked about it, but I do know I got a few solo guys. I hope they get a chance to see this, and I know they will. So they're going to appreciate all this, right? So let's just a little start here. So when it came to combat, he simplified it. Roll dice, add number, compare totals. Done. Magic became just, sort of like instinctual, right? Intuitive. Spells cost strength. Not a weird subsystem. Names were fun and direct, not pseudo-academic. 3. Character creation was fast. Roll stats, go play. No digging through multiple booklets. 4. Tone shift. D&D equals serious pseudo-historical fantasy. Tunnels and Trolls equals humorous, weird, and self-aware. Fun stuff, right? We're digging in. Okay, the publisher Flying Buffalo Inc., small independent operation, very DIY energy, printed early editions cheaply and fast. This matters because Tunnels and Trolls wasn't corporate. It was a pure garage-built RPG design. Basically, very amateur, right? Very amateur. But on purpose, that is, it's meant to be that way. It's not something where I'm not criticizing it for being amateur. This is what it was meant to be, a little bit amateur going out, not to be big corporate. First edition, 1975, bare bone booklet, written in a conversational tone, huge contrast to D&D. Assume you just wanted to play, not study rules. It spread through word of mouth, small conventions, fan enthusiasm. The real innovation, most people miss this, they really do. Tunnels and Trolls didn't just simplify D&D, it pioneered solo adventures. This is massive. Sooner or later people would have got to it, but this guy is just early on the concept. He's going to understand that people might want to just try the game without a game master, just by themselves. How would you do that? This is his answer. Oh, it is. It's a beautiful thing, Stephen Kennedy. I 100% agree with you. I said earlier, I say there's always freedom at D&D, and there's not too many other games out there that allow you the freedom. The exception is, obviously, Tunnels and Trolls. Solo play. Choose your own adventure-style modules. You could play without a game master. That was unheard of at the time. While D&D required a group, a referee, prep, TNT said, you can play this alone tonight. That alone kept it alive for decades. It really did. Solo was so unique that when people found out you could do it, it was an attraction. It was like, oh, wow, you could do, okay, let's try this. Oh, yeah, I hear that, Garrett. Tunnels and Trolls is a beautiful game, especially 5e, which is what the majority encounter. Like I said earlier, don't worry, I'll get to 5e. Not D&D, Tunnels and Trolls. The position in RPG history. D&D 1974, first RPG wargame DNA. Tunnels and Trolls, 1975, first major alternative design philosophy. Like I said earlier, this is the anti-D&D game. That was the intention. It was to counter. It was a pushback on what the designer thought was a clunky D&D game, right? I hear that, Black Rose. Okay, so it's not a clone. It's the first what if we did it? What if we did this differently RPG? Tunnels and Trolls is the first RPG rebellion. Ken St. Andrew looked at D&D and said, this shouldn't be this hard. If D&D, and this is again what he said, if D&D is the war game child, TNT is the casual player's answer. Again from him, this is the birth of accessible RPG design. That's Stephen Kennedy called it right there. Hobbyist versus somebody who wants to do this professionally. D&D was Gary and them wanted to be a serious company and do something really professional, but they're going through their experiments. But that is their aim. It really is. And you can see that in the work going forward. This is not the aim of Tunnels and Trolls. The brutal reality. TNT never overtook D&D because it leaned goofy while D&D leaned epic. It didn't have TSR level push. So, the advertising, there's no advertising behind the same way. It's word of mouth and whatnot, right? There, yes, they did, Garrett. I love the people that come here to my chat. They always add to what I'm talking about, and I really appreciate that because, I'm covering what I think of the base details. But if we can get some added thoughts in there and little, spikes of information, that's really, really quality stuff. I really appreciate it. Okay, so it didn't have a TSR level push. It appealed to a different type of player, but it proved RPGs didn't have to follow one formula, and it proved that RPGs didn't have to follow one formula, and that idea, that's what leads to rule-like games, indie RPGs, and OSR hacks. So you're going to understand, Tunnels and Trolls has a big influence on the hobby, more than we understand. It might not have been hot when it first comes out, but just the overall influence towards rule-like games, like, them mattering, indie RPGs, you can make other RPGs, really an early sign of that, and OSR hacks, sort of looking at D&D and going, what can you do? But this is still to the designer was his own game. Okay. Tunnels and Trolls as a toolkit, not a world. Tunnels and Trolls isn't a setting. It's a system meant to plug into whatever world you want immediately. So it's like if you had a world from another game, it's like this thing, as long as you can take the rules, separate the rules, you can plug this in. It's an easy set of rules that should function with just about anything, even your homebrewed world. As a homebrewed guy, I spent a lot of time, I don't talk about it that much, but I probably spent, 5, like on top of doing other stuff at the same time, I spent 5 heavy years into Tunnels and Trolls using it to help me come up with homebrewed ideas for settings, worlds, and other things I was doing before I adapted them over to things like 2nd edition AD&D. So it was a great way to experiment. And Tunnels and Trolls was something I actually more played with other game masters than I did with players, right? So I would get together with other game masters. And one thing we like to play is Tunnels and Trolls because it just gave us a lot of freedom to do whatever. And there was no expectation that you got to stick to this or that. That was all thrown out the window. So it was a big experimental, package, right? Oh yeah, it like I said, there is a 5th edition and even further editions, but there's some changes between 1st and 5th, right? But after 5th, there's no real changes, and that it gets criticized a bit, but it's more about maintaining what 5th edition was, because to the designer, 5th edition was the game. It was the end run. So he does, they don't want to change it going forward. They want to maintain what it is, but add some appeal to people, make more money, obvious stuff. what a toolkit RPG actually means here. When you open Tunnels and Trolls, you don't get a detailed world map, political factions, deep history. What you get is stats, combat rules, magic system, monsters loosely defined. That's it. Like, how much to it? What's missing? On purpose, mind you. What's missing? On purpose. No Greyhawk styled world, no canon timeline, no official campaign setting. The assumption is you'll make your own. Oh man, he was a hobbyist. He had me. Like he was a pure hobbyist and had my heart for a long time. I do appreciate this guy, and a lot of people don't even talk about him or his game. It's so sad because I always liked the other games, but this guy knew. For a creative like me, he was my best friend. Why it was designed this way. A reaction against early Dungeons and Dragons. D&D already leaned towards implied settings. Greyhawk, Blackmoor. It had a wargame legacy structure. GM authority over persistent world. Ken St. Andrew looked at that and went, why not strip this down even further? Hence why I keep going back to the way I look at it is, this is my opinion. I sort of use this as a haha. It's like the Jefferson Bible of Dungeons and Dragons. Stripped out stuff, you get a different thing, but with similarities. Speed over world building. The goal wasn't deep immersion, long campaign arcs. The goal was play immediately. A heavy setting slows that down, right? So all the time you need to learn stuff to play, that's what he's trying to strip away. He's like, how fast can I get you to the table playing a game? Like, how quickly? I did a bit of what I call freestyle, using basic ideas, some stuff I experimented with other game masters. And then we really looked at Tunnels and Trolls as being the system that we would use to do that with. Of course, because of all the freedom. Solo play requirement. This is a big one most people miss. Solo adventures don't need a global setting. They need self-contained situations. Each module is its own mini world. Doesn't rely on a larger canon. A fixed setting would actually get in the way. So you could get something where it's like you're on an island and you go, well, what planet? He assumed you wouldn't ask these questions. And guess what? Most never did. Oh, I'm on an island. Okay. We're so very basic setting, all, into the module itself. And then it's really focused on what you're going to do in that area. And that adventure is more important. You don't need a Greyhawk to achieve this. Small publisher reality. Flying Buffalo Inc. wasn't TSR. They didn't have large writing teams, world building budgets, multi-product pipelines. So instead of building a massive setting, they doubled down on adventures, solo modules, and expandable ideas. Tone of the game. TNT is loose, humorous. That's a fun part of it. Slightly chaotic, even if some people maybe didn't like it. I personally thought it was great. A rigid setting would clash with that. Let me say that again. So it's the tone of the game. This is really important. TNT is loose, humorous, and slightly chaotic. A rigid setting, true, would clash with that approach, right, with the game. How it actually played out. Instead of one big world, you got fragmented micro settings. Each adventure introduces its own tone, its own logic, its own world. Example, one dungeon is deadly serious. Another is borderline comedic. No consistency required. Now, this is true. Game master freedom, which we're going to call true freedom. That's the way they thought of it. True freedom. Unlike D&D, even early on, where expectations formed, this is how a world should look. These are the standard assumptions. TNT says, do whatever you want. We don't care. I love these guys. I love Ken. Do whatever you want. We don't care. The trade-off, don't sugarcoat this. This is me putting a note in for myself. I actually left that in on purpose. I wanted to say that out loud. I'm not going to sugarcoat this. What it gains: instant accessibility, maximum flexibility, easy solo integration, no lore barrier. What it loses: no iconic world identity, no shared player experience, harder to build long-term campaigns, less emotional attachment to the world. Now, people loved Greyhawk, right? These settings weren't the same. They weren't Greyhawk. You're not going to have that connection to it, right? That's just not going to happen. The real reason it never focused on the setting, because its strength is simplicity plus solo play plus speed. Man, it's almost like Ken knew me before I was even old enough to understand what this was. He knew people like me because in a way he was sort of like me. Not exactly personality, very different man, but just in the way he approached as a hobbyist. So, would be weakened by a defined world. It really would. It would be weakened by a defined world. A setting would add complexity, add expectations, slow entry, conflict with modular design. Oh man, that's another thing. You see a lot of the shared world stuff from the groups like the Bro OSR and players making stuff. You really did that with this. Players did help make stuff. That's a real thing. Like this was just, it naturally happened. It's not like it's written in there. Players help you design some stuff and the homebrew stuff you're doing. But yeah, a lot of game masters would sit there with their players and come up with ideas because it was that type of freedom, man. It was just wide open, wide open. It's the hippie D&D. That's opinion. Okay. Tunnels and Trolls, quote, Tunnels and Trolls doesn't give you a world, it gives you permission. You say that again. Tunnels and Trolls doesn't give you a world, it gives you permission. What does that mean? It just means it's giving you permission to do whatever you want. There's no expectation that this is what the game, none of this type of talk is just there, right? How far do you go before it's not Tunnels and Trolls? Doesn't care. It's all about what it inspires you to do, not what it is. That's a personal statement from me, personal quote from me. It's not about what the game is; it's what it inspires you to create. Right? That's really what it's all about. It's you could strip away everything to it, but as long as it's inspired you to get to what you want, it's done its job. Remember, it's a hobby. He's leaning into your hobbyist side. He's not trying to sit there and iron fist control what this is. Every adventure is its own setting. These are quotes. This isn't a campaign engine, it's a play engine. What a brilliant thing. This isn't a campaign engine, it's a play engine because it's all about getting in and playing the game. Quick, all the bullshit aside. So you don't got to do all this stuff to get in. Quote, where D&D builds worlds, TNT builds moments. Right, gets you into the game so you can have the experience rather than worrying about what you do outside of it. D&D equals world first, rules supported. TNT equals rules first, world is optional. One says, here's where you play. The other, TNT, says, just start playing. Just get in and start playing the game. Right? As quick as you can. I just love the mindset. I had to lean into it once I started studying who Ken was and what this was. Okay. Now, I've told you about the reasons I'm going to compare this to D&D. Some of the areas. This is one area. Combat And I'm going to compare it to AD&D combat. AD&D simulates a fight. Tunnels and Trolls resolves a fight. That's the whole thing. Okay, so AD&D combat, 1 and 2nd East style, similar. What's actually happening? Combat in Advanced Dungeons and Dragons is built from wargaming DNA. Step flow, simplified but honest. Declare actions. Roll initiative, sometimes group, sometimes individual, sometimes segments. Determine attack order. Roll to hit, THAC0 or attack tables. Apply modifiers, AC, weapon, situational. Roll damage, track hit points. Repeat per character per round. What it's trying to do, simulate timing, simulate positioning without miniatures. Even without miniatures, sorry, I said even without miniatures. Just remember, miniatures were optional, and that means you only have one other thing, which is pure theater of the mind. That has to be the core gameplay if the other thing is optional, because that's all you have left, right? So even without miniatures, it's trying to simulate positioning. Reward system mastery, this is AD&D still, create tactical decision layers. The reality, slow at low levels, fine. Slow at high levels, brutal. Requires system knowledge to run clean. We all know that as D&D DMs. Really got to know your stuff to really run this smoothly. New players get lost fast. That can happen. Right? It's a combat engine, not just a resolution mechanic. Tunnels and Trolls combat. What actually happens? Combat in Tunnels and Trolls is brutally simple. Step flow, both sides roll dice based on stats plus weapons. Add totals, higher totals win. Loser takes the difference in damage. Apply armor reduction, right? So basically you're all attacking at once. Enemies, boom, and if you roll higher and you've done more damage, basically you're squashing the damage done to you if you've done higher, and whatever's left over, whatever you didn't squash, boom, the leftover number is the other side's taking it. So apply armor reduction, repeat. That's it. No attack rolls, no hit miss, no initiative phase. So simple Tunnels and Trolls is. What it's actually trying to do. Resolve combat fast. Keep everyone engaged simultaneously at the same time, right? Sorry. Remove bookkeeping. Focus on momentum over simulation. So remove bookkeeping so you don't really got to focus on that. Keep everyone engaged and focus on momentum, the game and how it's going, the activity, over simulating some form of reality. It's allowing you to throw a bit of reality out the window for the sake of a faster experience in the gameplay. Getting comments on YouTube on the side. I'll respond to those people later. The reality. Less tactical depth. Swingy results. Big totals equal big damage spikes. Can feel abstract instead of immersive. So it could take a little bit of the immersive feel out of combat. It's a resolution mechanic, not a simulation. So it's not trying to exactly simulate combat perfect. It's just trying to get you through combat pretty quickly. Side-by-side breakdown. Okay, we'll focus on speed. AD&D, slow, step-by-step. TNT, fast, one roll, resolution. Complexity, AD&D, high, THAC0, AC, initiative quirks. TNT, low, add numbers and compare. Player involvement, one at a time. TNT, that's for AD&D. TNT, everyone rolls together. Tactical depth, AD&D, high equals high. Weapon choice, timing, positioning. TNT focuses on low, mostly numbers and gear. The feel of combat, AD&D, I swing, do I hit? ? TNT, we clash, who overwhelms who? Not who hits, who overwhelms who. The real divide, AD&D mindset. Combat is a sequence of individual actions. Tunnels and Trolls mindset, Combat is a chaotic exchange of force. Example, AD&D, fighter rolls to hit, misses. Next round, rolls again. Eventually hits, rolls damage. Feels like, I would say feels like attempt. Attempt equals success. So feels like attempt equals success. TNT, fighter adds dice to group total. Party rolls 42. Monsters in total roll 30. Monsters take 12 damage instantly. Math, right? 30 off of 42 leaves you 12. Boom, that's the damage the monsters are taking. Feels like impact and outcome right away, all at the same time. Brutal truth. AD&D rewards system mastery. TNT rewards momentum and simplicity. If someone says TNT combat is shallow, they're not wrong. If someone says AD&D combat is clunky, they're also not wrong. Oh, I've been going on about it really. I praise it. It's the birth of solo RPGs. I'm not a big solo guy, but I got some solo people that follow me, and because I'm not a solo person, it's hard to serve them with certain specific content. This is special because this is the birth of solo. So I figured this is something I can give them, and it's cool for everyone. And it's something I used for many years to do a lot of experimenting with things and settings that I brought over later to second edition AD&D. So I have a lot of experience with the system. I'm on combat right now. Why this matters historically. Tunnels and Trolls proved you don't need hit rolls, initiative systems, complex phases to have a working RPG combat system. That idea leads directly to rule-light systems, indie RPGs, and modern narrative games. It's almost like these things aren't almost like nobody knows you could just do this, and people are looking at what can we do? And Tunnels and Trolls just gets to this stuff quickly and just shows you, yes, you can. And so it inspires rules-like games, indie RPGs, and just many of these other narrative games, right? If you're a dirty storyteller. Joking. And I did see your comment there, Craig. When after this, I'll go give a response to it, my friend. Okay, we're getting some quotes here. Quote, AD&D asks, did you hit? Quote, TNT asks, who hit harder? So AD&D, did you hit? Question mark. TNT is going to ask you, who hit harder? Whoever hit harder, whoever rolled higher, does the damage. Another quote, one simulates the fight, the other resolves the fight. So D&D is all about simulating what combat is. TNT is all about let's figure out who won and move on. It's all pacing and speed. Quote, this is Crunch versus Flow, 1975 style. Crunch versus Flow, 1975 style. I love it. Okay, now we're going to go into Magic versus D&D. Remember, Tunnels and Trolls is, again, Craig's just getting here, so you've heard about Tunnels and Trolls. Ken made this game, the designer, as a counter to D&D. It's the anti-D&D. He called it anti-D&D, right? On purpose. So this was him looking at Dungeons and Dragons, the original, and going, too clunky, too many barriers to get in, too much to learn. I just want to play the game. So to get to that, he creates Tunnels and Trolls. Maybe. Okay, so now we're going to focus on Magic. This is why I'm comparing Dungeons and Dragons in this, because you can't really get around it, because it is a response to it, as I said already. Magic system, Tunnels and Trolls versus AD&D. The core difference. AD&D treats magic like a limited resource. Tunnels and Trolls treats magic like fuel you burn. I'll get into that. AD&D magic system. So we're going to go over just what AD&D is, and then we'll see the comparison here. Now, AD&D magic system, Vatican magic. How it works. In Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, you memorize spells ahead of time. Each spell, one use. You cast it, it's gone. You must rest to get it back. Design philosophy, pulled from the dying earth. Magic is structured, pre-planned, limited. You don't use magic freely, you prepare it. What this creates from AD&D: strategic planning before adventure, resource management. Do I cast now or do I save it? High value per spell. The reality: new players struggled with it. Some. Fire and forget feels unintuitive. Running out of spells. Dead weight wizard. You know, that early use your spell. Now what do? I'll hide behind a tree. Like say in combat, right? So running out of spells, dead weight wizard. You're powerful until you're empty. Tunnels and Trolls magic system. How it works. In Tunnels and Trolls, every spell costs strength. ST. You cast it and subtract your strength. As long as you have strength, you can, or ST, cut it down, you can keep casting. Design philosophy. Magic is immediate, flexible, risk-based. You don't prepare spells. You spend yourself to make them happen. So it's like you're just giving off like energy, like your own body energy to cast whatever you can possibly cast. Whatever's optional to you, you don't need to memorize. You just go, well, until I'm out of energy, I'm going to cast whatever I want. Oh, it's one of my favorite games. That's why I'm sad that people sometimes treat it like it's an old throwaway game. I'm like, man, I sometimes like to go back to this and just skip over D&D for a while. Like even 3 years ago, I ran. It's not meant for a campaign, but I got my own home. So I ran a campaign based on this, and it's beautiful because it's just so much freedom, and I don't have to worry. Players that like Tunnels and Trolls, when you show up with different stuff, they don't go, well, that's not Tunnels and Trolls, because they know right away that is not how you look at that game. This game is all about, we don't care how much you change as long as the game inspires whatever you're doing to have fun. Ken was, as Stephen Kennedy got it right, hobbyist, right? He didn't want his game to be corporate or the mindset or the approach. He was all about just giving you something to inspire you to get to what you want. Oh, Black Horse. I don't think it's hard. I just got to tell you about it. This sells itself. It's just a lot of people don't look. They hear old Tunnels and Trolls. Yeah, some old game. I'm like, man, if you didn't mess with it, you don't know. But I'm glad. I'm glad that this is what it's doing for this game. It should have way more love than it does. What it creates. This is based on the magic. No memorization phase. No spell slots. Constant casting potential. You can cast big early and risk collapse. Pace yourself across the dungeon. So it's really down to player skill at that point. You can just do whatever you want, so there's no limitations there. It's just like there's the limitation of your energy, but there's not like you have to memorize. You're not pigeonholed in a lot of things, so just don't spend all your energy right away. That's the risk taking that you're free to take. The reality: burn too much strength, you're helpless. No hard cap on casting, can feel swingy. Less wizard identity, more raw power use. You are the resource. Oh yeah, a lot of this guy's a hobbyist, so you're definitely going to see a lot of things that probably, like when I talk about some of the stuff, you've probably seen some of these ideas host ruled to simplify things in other games like D&D. But that's because you're seeing other hobbyists. Ken he was no Gary Gygax, but he was one of us, right? He was one of us. He just didn't like the approach with D&D. He always wanted to be simple, and that was the whole thing here. Now, this is going to be a side-by-side breakdown. Resource type. AD&D spell slots external system. TNT, strength, your body is the battery. Okay, planning versus improvisation. AD&D, plan ahead. TNT, decide in the moment. Casting frequency. AD&D, limited uses per day. TNT, cast until you collapse. It turned into some crazy stuff. I actually seen people go too far with their magic. I'm like, you're going to try to save the day. It's going to screw me. Okay. But it's lovely. You can do that in the game, that you can just push yourself. Power feel. AD&D, big moments, spaced out. TNT, constant pressure, constant output. Oh, man. The real divide. AD&D, magic is knowledge you prepare. Tunnels and Trolls, magic is power you expand. Starfaring compared to TNT, I'm more inclined to sci-fi. Not as free. Though I've only played a bit of some of the stuff, so I'd have to really do some research to really give you a full on, but not as free. Tunnels and Trolls outside of D&D is the most free flow game there is I've ever encountered. Though there's some other games with some free flow. Sci-fi, again, you could turn this into sci-fi. That's what Tunnels and Trolls is. In a way, it's leaning a bit into the medieval, but it gives you so little that you could just go, man, can we just eliminate this and bring these ideas in? That's the homebrew part. See, he made a game with a system where it says, okay, I'll give you some medieval stuff, I guess, if you want that, but you could really remove that. The whole game is about inspiring you to make everything yourself. There's no setting to the game. Make your own setting. You want a dungeon? Make your like. That's the aim. The adventures and modules definitely lean more to the medieval stuff, but you could do anything with this. The gameplay still feels better, so I would say this is better. But if you like sci-fi, okay. Example: AD&D wizard memorizes fireball, cast it once, it's gone. I used my spell. TNT wizard cast takes that you take that you fiend, loses strength, can cast it again immediately if they dare. How much of myself do I burn? Right? So get it? Like it's like you can cast it, but you can just cast it again instantly. That's the risk you take. It's like how much of yourself are you burning away in the process, right? How much are you risking in that process? And will you need it later? Well, you won't. At a certain point, you're going to run out. So that's the risk, right? Oh, there, yeah. No, that's right. See, I said earlier, this is why I love guys like Garrett. Thank you, Garrett, for bringing that up. Okay, tone difference, huge and underrated. AD&D spells, magic missile, fireball, lightning bolt. TNT spells, take that you fiend, oh go away, poor baby. Let me name the spells. This is the comedic part of Tunnels and Trolls. Tone difference, AD&D spells, magic missile, fireball, lightning bolt. TNT spells, take that you feed. It's a spell. Oh, go away. Yep. Poor baby. They just weren't ashamed. Like, this is something where the game just didn't shy away. It acknowledged its comedic haha part of the game, right? Feels personal, humorous, and direct. This matters more than people admit. Brutal truth. AD&D magic is deeper as far as when it comes to like strategy. It's a deeper system. TNT magic is deeper emotionally though, and moment to moment. If someone says TNT magic is simplistic, they're right. If someone says AD&D magic is restrictive and awkward, they're also right. Why this matters historically. Tunnels and Trolls introduced the idea that magic doesn't need spell slots, memorization systems, daily limits. That idea shows up later in mana systems in video games, modern RPGs, and even some OSR hacks. We're going to get into the quotes here. Okay, first one. A&D makes you plan your magic. TNT makes you survive your magic. One is spell management, AD&D. The other is self-sacrifice, TNT. Vatican magic is a system for D&D. TNT magic is a gamble. These are quotes from people back in the day, right? Beautiful stuff, beautiful stuff. Now we're going to cover another simple area. Now I could have gone, I couldn't do separate here because there's so few that it's not worth really covering like separately. So we're going to cover races, classes, and monsters in Tunnels and Trolls. Tunnels and Trolls has all the same pieces as D&D, but they're stripped down to only what you actually need. Races, simple, functional, no lore bloat. What exists? Humans, elves, dwarves, hobs, their versions of hobbits. So instead of calling them halflings and not getting, they don't get sued calling them hobbits, they call them hobs, HOBBS. How they work, races are mostly stat modifiers. Light identity. Example, dwarves, tougher. Elves, better magic potential. Hobs, the hobbits, luck-based advantages. The reality, no deep cultures, no world building tied to them, no long racial write-ups. You're not playing elf culture, you're playing a character with elf stats. Again, some D&D guys really might look at that and go, okay, because there's some criticism they'll give to some other things like the new WotC stuff, and then they hear this, and I'm like, yeah, they're playing the character with pointy ears, right? This is a game that just doesn't care. Yeah, you can play, you can cosplay. Go ahead, right? It doesn't care. Like WotC might pretend that you're playing an elf, and you'll accuse them of, oh, that's just a human with pointy ears. You're cosplaying. Then you'll hear criticism like that in some of the WotC stuff. This just says, yeah, you're playing a person with pointy ears. Go ahead, cosplay all you want. We don't care. I love that. I love that attitude with the game, right? I really do. It feeds me. Classes, bare bones roles, not systems. Core roles, not classes. Warrior, wizard, rogue, add it later. How they work. Classes define what you're good at, what you're allowed to do. That's it. What you're good at, what you're allowed to do. That's it. No skill trees, no ability list, no complex progression systems. Again, this is all about stripping away a lot of stuff from D&D, the Jefferson Bible of Dungeons and Dragons. Yes, Garrett, you're right. Garrett's a TYT guy. I found the right person for this guy. I'm glad you're around for this. The reality. Warriors fight. Wizards cast using strength. Rogues handle utility. No customization depth like AD&D. No subclass identity. Key insight. Classes don't define your character. Your stats and gear do. This is really, really important. We can hear that. I'm going to say that again. Classes don't define your character. It doesn't matter if you're a fighter or wizard. The stats and your gear are going to define what you can do, and how you're going to play the game. It's just a big, again, back to tone change, back to difference. This is different. I'm glad you're enjoying Stephen Kennedy. So am I, man. I'm glad you all are hyped about this because it gets me hyped. When I talk about TNT, it gets me hyped. Yeah, a lot of these I talk about, and I'm like, I have a heart. I'm stretched out already. But if I had more time, I'd be like, okay, I'm running this. I'm going to do the stream and then I'm going to talk to some players and get the gaming. But I will come back to this. This is why I'm covering it too. But it's even more tempting. But a lot of the game designers today, they don't hear stuff like this. They're making the OSR stuff. They're doing all that. And I'm like, guys, I think I can help you out and give you a new mindset on what you're doing that you might really appreciate, right? I almost call Tunnels and Trolls freestyle gaming. It's a term I use to describe some of the more simplistic things I've done with just using D6s, but this is a sort of a little bit more organized freestyle. Monsters, built to be fought, not studied. What exists? Trolls, of course. Of course. I shouldn't even need to mention them, but they're there, of course. Goblins, dragons. Standard fantasy threats. How they work. Monsters are dice pools. Adds bonus. Maybe a special trait. That's it. Why this matters? Because combat is total. Remember? Total versus total. Monsters in total, roll 20. You roll 27. They're taking 7 damage. You're washing away the damage. So 20 and 20 is just washing away each other. So nobody takes that damage. Whoever has the higher, say the 27 from the player characters, that's 7 damage to the monster. If it was the other way around, if they roll 27, player characters roll 20, well, the characters are taking 7 damage in that combat go, right? So that's it, though. So dice pool, adds bonuses, maybe a special trait. That's it. Why this matters? Because combat is, again, total versus total. Monsters don't need complex abilities, tactical AI, detailed behavior systems. They don't need none of that. The reality. Less flavor. But again, this is opinion outside of facts I'm covering. Opinion is, I don't care when I'm saying these reality things about less this, less that, because you add flavor to TNT. That's the whole thing is, I'm not going to add it for you. I'll give you a game, and if you don't want to care about it, don't care about it. But if you want to care about it, go ahead. That's your business. But you got to make it. That's all Ken is saying to you. Ken is saying, look, dude, I'm just giving you the frame. I'm making it that you don't need the rest. But if you want to put it in there, go ahead. Right? Ooh. Less uniqueness per creature. Right? This is the reality thing. More numbers to overcome. Yep. They exist to drive the system, not lore. So they're not existing to be lore or even drive lore in anything. They just exist to drive the system. You need monsters, you got monsters. The big picture, D&D approach. So the big picture, D&D approach. Races equals culture. Classes equals deep system. Monsters equal lore plus mechanics. Tunnels and Trolls approach. Races equals stat tweaks. Classes equal simple rolls. Monsters equal combat numbers. Yeah, definitely. The real takeaway. Everything is compressed down to function. Nothing is overwritten, overdefined, or overexplained. Brutal truth. Less depth, less identity, less world cohesion. But this is important. Faster play, easier entry for new people, for example. Works perfectly because of the simplicity with solo design. So Ken did care about solo, probably even did a lot of solo himself, which he designed this for. So again, it works, all this simplicity works perfect with solo gaming. We're to the quotes. TNT doesn't build a world, it builds a game loop. Quote, everything is there, just strict to function. Quote, you don't study your character, you play your character. Let me say that again. I love this fucking statement right here. You don't study your character, You play your character. He's a gamer. He's a gamer. He just so many things to get in the way. No, dude, that dude just wants to sit down at the table right away. It doesn't matter if it's new. And just go, can we play the game? Tunnels and Trolls is like, yes, you can. I love that. Quote, this is RPG design with no extra weight. Right? I love that. I love Tunnels and Trolls. I would love to inspire some people to go out and get this and really want to dig into the system. Just because it's not like it's dig in, but I mean, dig into their mind. Like, you don't got a system, but you want to try your own ideas, but you don't want to make a game for the market. You don't want to make a game for the market, but you don't want to just use the, you just want something where you have a sort of rule set framework where you could make your own setting. This Tunnels and Trolls is 100% it. It is. Now we're going to give a little focus, special focus. I mentioned solo a number of times tonight. In these different areas, you have to because it relates with them. But this little section is a focus on solo. And I've had solo guys follow me for years on here. Again, I felt like I've never been able to do a specific piece of content for them because I didn't do solo gaming. I've done the group gaming, the normal gaming we've all done in the normal tabletop role-playing game hobby. This is me giving back to people that have given me a support for a long time. And I always appreciate it. So here we go. Solo gaming and Tunnels and Trolls. Tunnels and Trolls didn't just allow solo play. It was built to support it better than group play in some cases. So the game actually functions sometimes better in the solo play than in the group play. If you play D&D, you might prefer this, and this. With solo play, given how challenging it can be, a solo player is going to love the simplicity. They're going to realize to the group that they might criticize it because they're all in. They want lore. With the solo player, they're going to be like, nope, this is exactly what I need to make this smooth and fun, right? Black Rose. I figure you as soon as I heard you spark up, because you get it. You're a second ed person just like me. I'm a creative, and I know that second edition is all about being a creative. This really plays to us, right? This really plays to what we love about these games, right? You can't get around it. And if I were to tell you to get any system, any version of it, get the 5e. The 5e is just the end result. That's just everything it advanced to is 5e. You don't even have to get any system past 5e. And there are some other things Garrett's mentioning that you should, if you want modern stuff, right? There's all these little add-ons you can go find, put into what you're doing. What solo play actually is. In Tunnels and Trolls, solo adventures are structured, numbered paragraphs. You read, make a choice, go to another section. It's basically choose your own adventure plus RPG mechanics. Now, I'll give you something. I have about 100 of these choose your own adventure novel books. I was fucking addicted to them. To this day, I still love them. Some of the best, just the writing in it too, it's just so amazing. And I've heard movies and TV shows have been inspired by these things, right? Probably costly. Tunnels and Trolls, I don't know. Maybe cheapest. It could be cheap, depending. There's secondhand stuff though, just to let you know. So even if you went to first hand, getting something high quality might cost you a bit. If you go to the secondhand places, eBay and stuff, you might find a little jackpot worth of stuff, right? Good luck on that. But yeah, I love these old choose your own adventure novels. I was addicted to them. This really is something like that with the solo play here, but it's like instead of reading the book, you're having mechanics, something like D&D, doing your solo. The first big one, Buffalo Castle, released in 1976, published by Flying Buffalo Inc., written by Rick Loomis. Why it matters. This is one of the first true solo adventures ever made. Not a gimmick, not an optional side thing. A full playable dungeon alone. Like, this guy really gave you everything. Like, this was not a throwaway little adventure. Like, they were committed to the solo play so much that they made this a full-on dungeon. So let me go over this for you solo guys again. The first big one, Buffalo Castle, released in 1976, published by Flying Buffalo Inc., written by Rick Loomis. Again, why it matters. This is one of the first true solo RPG adventures ever made. Not a gimmick either. Not just some little throwaway demo. Not an optional side thing either. A full playable dungeon alone. Okay, how solo play works mechanically. You read your section, and here we say you're reading it. You enter a dark room. A troll attacks. Number 2, make a choice. Fight, run, try something clever. Follow instructions. If you fight, go to 42. If you run, go to 17. This is where it's leaning into that novel thing. Because when you're reading these choose your own adventure novels, it'd be like, okay, it tells you the scene, what you might say, what's going on. And then you have a number of choices. You want to run, you want to talk to the person, you want to do combat. And then it tells you what pages, you would turn to. Like what page? Oh, that's if I want to fight, I turn to this page. And it could be that the actual adventure's over. You actually die in the book, right? You fight. Okay, you get killed. It's over? Yeah. That's how an adventure book could be. Or it could be that you fight and that was the right choice and you take that whatever down, right? Combat still uses TNT rules. Roll your dice, add totals, compare versus enemy. So it's not like the novel in that way. So it's not like automatic outcome. It's you can go to the combat and then you roll like something like a tabletop role-playing game, right? So again, combat still uses the rules. Roll your dice, add totals, compare versus enemy. No GM needed. The book is the game master. This is not a problem in this situation. It's not like the thing I said about 5e D&D recently where the book runs the game. Well, that's group play. I don't want that. But in solo play, it's obviously what you need. The book is the game master. Hidden design trick. Hidden design trick. I want people to pay attention because I've done a lot of work researching this stuff to give out information here. And I'm not going to drill too hard, but I think people should just watch this and really take it in. Hidden design trick. The system works solo because Tunnels and Trolls combat is fast and self-contained. If this used AD&D combat, you'd be flipping tables, checking initiatives, running multiple systems. It would fall apart immediately. That's why that wasn't made for solo playing exactly, right? Even if you try to twist it, it could be very challenging. Why Tunnels and Trolls succeeds at solo and others don't. No referee required. D&D assumes a DM's interpretation flexibility. TNT solo modules replaces the DM with pre-written outcomes. Again, with some of these options to roll dice. 2, binary and branching design. Clear choices, clear outcomes, no ambiguity. Perfect for book-driven play. Combat resolution is instant. One roll system. So you roll, done. No tracking multiple turns. Next, keep the pacing tight. Number 4, character simplicity. Few stats, easy math. You're not buried in mechanics while flipping pages. You use them, but it's not like in a difficult way. It's all easy. Compared to AD&D, AD&D solo, technically possible, but clunky. Requires heavy interpretation. Breaks without a DM in all reality. It was never designed for it. That's true. Tunnels and Trolls solo, designed for it, published for it, thrived because of it. The real impact that most people miss, Tunnels and Trolls did something huge. It let people play RPGs without a group. You just got to understand, solo wasn't a thing. It just wasn't a thing. Like the concept just wasn't there right away. You know it's going to come sooner or later, but this guy he knows it. He gets to it really quick. And here you are with a game that it's just huge. It's going to teach you that early so you don't got to wait 10 years for somebody else to figure this out. right? And sort of put it together. This guy just instantly knew out of the box. This is it. So it did something huge. It let people play RPGs without a group. Think about that in the 70s. No internet. Just understand how you're cut off from people. So a lot of people, like I said, a public game master, a lot of people don't have friends in the hobby, aren't gaming with people. So what's this doing for you? So there's no internet, no LFG, no online tools. If you didn't have a group, you didn't play D&D. Oh, how true is that? Tunnels and Trolls said, you can play tonight alone. It just got it. When you look back at this stuff, you start really having a new appreciation for what it was, what it is. I hope everyone's still here. We're still good. Okay, good. Just listening. I know. I always love it when I know some guys are just privately sitting in the back and painting their miniatures and stuff while I talk, and that's good. I always enjoy that. I don't mind entertaining you. That's all good. So what it turned into. This idea directly leads to game books, fighting fantasy, Lone Wolf, solo modules across RPGs, modern solo RPG movement, even digital RPG design. This is a foundational branch of the hobby. We should take solo more serious. It's a thing. It's not going away. And if we're smart, we let it grow. We never get in its way. Never dismiss people that do solo. Never. Brutal truth. Okay, we're not going to sugarcoat this. Solo modules are limited. This is brutal truth. Choices are pre-scripted. Replay value depends on branching. It's not true freedom like a GM-led game, but it delivers something D&D never could. Immediate, accessible play. Got some quotes? Tunnels and Trolls turned RPGs into a one-player experience. Quote, this is where RPGs meets game book. Quote, no group, no problem, play anyway. Quote, this is the birth, and this is not from me. I said this before I actually got to the word, or was an actual statement on this, and I'm glad to find it. This is the birth of solo RPG gaming. D&D social experience. TNT playable anytime. One needs people, one just needs you. Oh, hello. Sorry, dude. I'm sorry about that. You're getting here a little late. I'm so far in, I can't backtrack on all this stuff. I hope you do get to rewind later and just watch this entire thing, because this is an inspirational stream, I hope, for a lot of people, because I think this game, if it got the right push, a lot of people would want to jump out and buy it right away. I have it already. I have 5th edition. Tunnels and Trolls, and this is what we're going to cover now. Yeah, we're not in the witching hour yet, but this is sort of the last part of the scripted stuff, right? So let's dive in. I'm surprised how fast I dug through this stuff. But that's Tunnels and Trolls. It's all about what you make, and it's less about what is already made. So the content is pretty straightforward. That's cool, Philo. You can still hang up. Oh, fair for the part, because we're going to talk about Tunnels and Trolls, 5th edition, 1979. When people talk about Tunnels and Trolls, they're usually talking about 5th edition. This is a quote. When people talk about Tunnels and Trolls, they're usually talking about 5th edition. It is the edition the most people I've ever encountered that played this game played 5e. That's it. Most, not all, most. What 5th edition actually did, this wasn't a reinvention. It was the version where everything finally clicked into place. That's why I say 5e is so important. I personally would get this one if you could get it. But even the original, everything I said tonight is still there, right? Sorry about any background. Still there. I get somebody visiting. So, all right, let's get back to this. It wasn't a reinvention. Again, it was a version where everything finally clicked into place. It locked in the core system. By 5th edition, the game became roll dice, add versus enemy totals. So it's roll dice plus adds, like your bonuses versus the enemy's total. That's what 5th edition. So the game became that. Armor reduces damage. That's a new thing. Strength fuels magic, as we talked about. Simple stat-driven characters. No confusion. No experimental rules left hanging. It standardized the game. Earlier editions, a bit messy, slightly inconsistent. 5th edition, clear, usable, stable. This is the version you could teach easily, run consistently, build adventures around. It became the solo play engine. This is huge. 5th edition is where solo modules explode into popularity. Buffalo Castle, dozens of follow-ups. Players remember sitting alone, running dungeons without a game master. It defined the tone. 5th edition locked in the identity. Slightly goofy, self-aware, not taking itself too seriously. Spells like, take that, you fiend, or, oh, go away. Haha. That's how Craig, see, Tunnels and Trolls. See, to the people that know it, that's why it has so much value. I hope my connection's okay. I just seen a small warning for the first time. I hope I've been okay tonight. I hope we're still going okay right now. Okay. It defined the tone. Again, 5th edition locked in the identity. Slightly goofy, self-aware, not taking itself too seriously. Spells like, again, take that, you fiend. Oh, go away. This is the version that made TNT feel different from D&D. So remember, originally it's made as an anti-Dungeons & Dragons game. It has some of the elements sort of like, you feel a little bit D&D. This 5th edition is what separates fully TNT from D&D. It balanced speed versus playability. Earlier, too rough. Later, sometimes over-tuned. 5th edition hits the sweet spot. Fast combat, enough structure to not feel empty, easy to improvise. I can just improvise with just about any game, but definitely with Tunnels and Trolls, it definitely let you practice improvisation. If I were to tell someone, hey, man, I suck at improvising, I'd be like, all right, get Tunnels and Trolls and just try. They're like, well, why would I try? Just you'll feel like it's okay to try. And there you can keep trying until you understand, you got to know the system, but your mind also has to work in a certain way. Tunnels and Trolls really got me to the point of understanding my own mind, because I can't teach you how to cut things out. I can put a general thing in front of you, and it could be like there's 20,000 things can happen. But in reality, when you're improvising, you can't take that long, and you can't be that indecisive. So you need to know how to think to go, how can I start cutting all these options away until I'm down to a few options where I can go take one, put it down, go forward. That's what I'm going to work on, improvise. Well, this is a game where really you could practice that all you want till you got it down. And then you just got to know the systems. But your mind has to work in a certain way. It doesn't matter what system you're in. It's nice to know the rules, but some people to this day that I know rules well, I'd almost call them masters of rules, and still they have a hard time with improvising, because it's one thing to know the rules really well. It's another thing to be decisive, know how to think in a certain way, and that's a bit separate from the game. And we're all individually different in this way. So the way I do it might not be the way somebody else goes about tracking their mind to cut options away, get the thing down, go forward, right? Why players remember this version? It was widely available. Strongest distribution. It's the most distributed game edition there is, right? Most people encountered TNT here. That's the first little thing. 2, it had the most content, solo adventures, modules, support material. This is where the ecosystem existed. 3, it was stable. You could stick with it long term. Campaign. No need to upgrade. right? So you could stay with 5e, but this is where you can really stick to the game and not just do these individual games. This is the thing made for longer gameplay and for you to really just sit yourself into the system and not walk away. Unlike D&D, you didn't feel forced forward. D&D can be the railroad. Or you're like not sure what to do, man. I'm like, we got to go do something. Where in this game, it's just like, oh, we just got to figure it out. Like because you feel so free, it's a lot harder to get people locked down. Players that get used to tunnels and trolls get used to just playing on their own initiative. That's really important. Players are literally practicing taking the initiative. They have to all the time. So in a way, a lot of players are going. Tunnels and Trolls improves players, and when you bring some of these guys over to D&D, it will blow your mind. You'll sit with a group playing D&D, and they can't think of what to do. You bring some TNT guy over. Hey, what do you want to do? He'll be like, I got 10 ideas. I mean, we can only probably do 2 of them, but I mean, which one? Which 2? That's the kind of players they are. Beautiful thing. Okay. 4. It captured the identity perfectly. Everything people associate with Tunnels and Trolls, fast combat, simple rules, solo play, humor, that is all in 5th edition. Everything I said tonight that's where it's at. Yeah, like I said, Craig was showing there, it could be $100, but you can find, you dig for, enough, you can find what you need. You can find the rules. You might not have to go buy the book if you're willing to, be a little printy about it. I won't say anything more. I don't want to say anything more than that, right? Brutal truth. I'm just being honest. Brutal truth. 5th edition isn't deep. It isn't tactical like AD&D. It isn't trying to be. It works because it doesn't overreach. While later editions didn't replace it, 7th Deluxe came later, but they didn't change the core enough. They didn't redefine the experience. So players stuck with what worked. Meaning, you might see 5e at 100, but you might find 70 for $20 somewhere. And it's 7e is not really new, but it's just 5e, like maintained. So that's why 5e is where you can just get it and go, oh, that's good enough. And you wouldn't really need to buy the other newer editions for new stuff. You could sort of stick to 5e. But if you couldn't find 5e and you find 70, get 70. Depends. They didn't change the core enough, like I said. They didn't refine. So players stuck with what worked. Quotes, 5th edition is Tunnels and Trolls in its final form. Quote, this is where the game stops evolving and starts existing. Let me say that again. This is where the game stops evolving and starts existing. If you played Tunnels and Trolls back in the day, this is your version. Okay, quote, everything people remember about Tunnels and Trolls comes from 5th edition. True. Earlier editions, figuring it out. 5th edition, defining it. Later editions, preserving it. Now, Garrett's right on there. So if you can put up with that and get it printed through that, boom, you're good. That's Tunnels and Trolls. We're in the witching hour. Welcome to the stream. We're in casual time now. I really hope that the people that got to hear some of this or stayed even through the whole thing are excited. I think my friend Black Rose here is really interested in getting the game. And like Garrett said here, there's ways, there's alternative ways where you don't got to spend a lot of money, right? How it is. That's where we're at, friends. The witching hour. I really enjoyed tonight's stream. It wasn't as long as some of the other ones, but I knew it wouldn't be. Like I knew it wouldn't be. Like I knew right away. Tunnels and Trolls is just not. The freedom is really easy to explain. It doesn't have a bunch of settings for me to cover. It doesn't have a bunch of things for me to cover. Its simplicity made the stream pretty quick and straightforward. Right? Ironically, what it is made it not hard to cover. Now you can go into some of the things that, like Garrett said, and some of the other details. Slight understatement, yeah. And most of my streams now on this stuff have been like 2, sometimes 3 hours. So, but yeah, we're good. I feel good. I feel good about this one. Really, really happy about tonight. Now, I did a stream update where I told you I'm putting out some invites for interviews. Done. I done be learned. Stephen. I like that. I like that, Stephen Kennedy. Stephen Kennedy always has some of the most clever, funny stuff to say. I love it. But yes, this is worth your time. And if it's a forgotten relic, it shouldn't be. It really shouldn't be. And Ken, the guy who made this game, deserves some serious praise. Ken St. Andrews deserves some serious praise for this genius thing that he made. I don't think that the guy ever got the type of praise that Kevin Sabita or Gary Gygax and some of the other legendary people we know in the hobby. This guy was a guy like his game. It had a cult following. I look at it today and I go, it should have more. But for the solo guys that I see gaming today, some of them don't even know Tunnels and Trolls. I'm like, that's the birthplace of your gaming. So I figure this is a way for me to get back, is to teach you about it, right? Oh, maybe one. No. Or Black Rose is getting Tunnels and Trolls. I haven't. It's a beautiful thing. I couldn't live without it. I always go back to it every so often. I've never stopped going back to it because it's always about do what you want, and it just gives you a whole thing. The comedic stuff can be fun if you want to play to that, but it's really all about your choice. So the comedic stuff is there, all this stuff is there, but it's all about what you want, and you don't feel like hand-tied like with D&D. This is what we expect. With Tunnels and Trolls, it's like we don't expect anything. It's a hobbyist, a creative like myself has made a game for you, a very simple one. It's work casual time, folks. We stick to casual time. Woo. One to the first. Yeah, I'm definitely going to run this at one point. It's just like every time I talk about one of these games, like even World of Darkness, I'm going to do a little bit of World of Darkness because I recently covered that and I got excited about that. But I do that every time I cover one of these games because I'm a nerd, right? I cover one of these games that I've done, but it's like, oh yeah, it's like even the Star Frontier stuff. I went over that again and went, oh God, okay, should I? I don't know. I figure I'm going to have that. It's going to hit me like that all year, the whole year, right? I hear you. See, it's I don't know. What I would tell solo guys is inform your audience. That'd be my only pitch. They're doing content. It's solo should be understood. If you're gonna have an audience watching, you should do an opening video before play where you just go over the game. Right? And then just redirect, put that, link that down for every session of solo play you're putting out. So then you don't get to explain it. If somebody's interested in what you're doing, then go check that out, right? Misinterpretations. I hear you. It's just this way, putting you guys on live it's a bit about pressuring me to focus on your comments, so I make sure I'm responding to you guys and I'm not missing things because I appreciate all the time. And if sometimes I see it scrolling here, I can miss things. Here, just that pause and them coming in means I can see them, respond to you guys, and really have fun interacting with what you're saying. It can lead to a bit confusion, no doubt, but here we are, right? And I think you can always follow the side comments if you just want to for easier use for you guys chatting. I will follow this personally just so I can make sure I'm keeping up with what you're saying, right? That's all. Even if it confuses me, I don't think it's that bad. But we are at the witching hour. That's why I'm doing relax time. And that's like, it's with a little bit of talk here afterwards, it's like an hour and a half. I think so far we're doing great. Doing great, because I've been getting used to doing these for 3 or 4 hours. So, wow. I did all the content up for this tonight. And for like, when I did this one, I was just like, should I add more? And I said to myself, no, because I know I have some heavy games to cover. I'm going to have to do games where it's like, I guarantee you, there's games coming up that are going to take 3+ hours in the stream for me to cover. There's just no way around that. There's just so much content to them. This one was like, hey man, you know what? I'll just take it easy on myself. Let's not turn this into something more than what it has to be. Yeah, it can happen sometimes. But guess what? Regardless, Black Rose, you're going to go get Tunnels and Trolls, aren't you? And I hope other people that hear this want to go get the game, want to go get it printed, want to go try it, right? Thank you, Pillow. Again, that doing that stream up is what led me to go back and I'm now planning a World of Darkness game. I love World of Darkness. Really appreciate that you like that too. Man, I wasn't sure how much justice I do that game because I was an addict of a guy's channel, the Gentleman's Gamer, which I told you guys about that night. I was a complete fucking addict to his deep diving stuff, and that guy will get you into the game, but you got to really have a lot of time. You got to have a lot of time, and his older stuff is the best because he's a calm older guy now. But if you go back to that guy's younger stuff, he has an attitude. He has a great attitude and a cocky attitude for the whole thing. And I actually find the old young Gentleman's Gamer cocky guy that he was, very cocky nerd. I find him more appealing back then. I do like the nice, decent guy he's turned into, family man. His content was so good. I hate to blow too much smoke up his ass, but he deserves his flowers. His content was so good, the company hired him. Like, so just to tell you how good his stuff was, I'm not doing videos and some companies calling me up like, Steven, that was great. You want to come work for us? Like, no. Gentleman's Gamer was so fucking spot on with his shit that they hired him. The company that makes the game that he loves hired him. Incredible. And understand, he's a big YouTuber now, but he doesn't get the numbers he used to. Back when he was hot, man, his growth was big. Views were huge. That guy's channel was great. The Birthright stream, great because it's domain play. Ravenloft. I love Ravenloft. And like I said, Black Rose knows this. I'm doing some of the settings over the year too. I'll go back to some of them soon at one point. And anything I feel like I miss out of the settings, I'm just going to do what I call follow-up streams. I'll do that with a few things where if I didn't mention a few details in streams about a game or settings, I'm going to do what I call follow-up streams where it's like any nerds that said, oh, why didn't you cover this? Or why didn't you cover this? I'm going to go over some of the things I missed out or I just didn't bring up in detail. Because I really did these with the idea of how do I communicate what this is to the person wanting to first learn about Ravenloft? What is necessary details that really tells you the overall thing? And then these side details, I figure they don't add to that explanation, but they're cool nerd stuff. Great stuff for gaming, great details. So the follow-up will be more for fun details, fun stuff like that, right? And that's going to be fun too. That'll be a little bit relaxing nights, right? Be great stuff. And today I did my Matt Mercer video because it's a reaction. I seen a bunch of guys take a video where he gives a little bit of gaming advice. It probably isn't the greatest advice for a game master. And I'm like, when I watch him, I stop being a nerd for a second. I just said, what am I seeing? Am I seeing an egotistic guy or am I just seeing like a normal guy? Because no matter how famous he is a guy that just games like us. So I'm like, when I seen this video that they were putting up, I'm like, you know what? So many people hate this guy on the outside that are maybe jealous, whatever, for reasons. I said, you know what? He's just, even if it's careless, bad advice, how many nerds out there with not much experience are still sharing their opinions? Everybody does this. Is he just being a nerd? He's just being a nerd. That's all it is. And so many guys like him that I'm like, no, we should try to see that. Sometimes we should try to see it that way. Be sympathetic to our fellow gamers that don't game like us. Right? Just be a little bit more open, right, with the way we talk. Like great example, I was on DM Bloodwar stream and I'm talking about how I do combat, shaving off seconds. And Max Liao is saying in the comment section how he does combat differently. And I wanted to show him right there that I said right away, my players would probably enjoy your combat. because it was something he said, but I really believe it to this day. It's gaming is personal, but it's also about, we spend so much time putting each other down or things down. It's like, why not try to be sympathetic to the opposing opinion? Just try and see if you can see something in there. And is it valuable for communicating? Because we do take things so personal that we can get nasty with each other and then the wall goes up. Or we can listen to each other regardless of disagreement and really attempt to be fair, which a lot of guys don't do here. So I felt like lead by example on that stream, right? Oh, I hear you, Black Rose. I've gotten a few compliments. Some of the young guys, especially, like some of the newer content, the new vibe, the new everything. Drift Speed, he isn't here tonight, or maybe he watched a little bit of this. He's really been enjoying some of my new videos. I've gotten a lot of great compliments. I appreciate everything everybody says. I really do. The compliment stuff it makes me want to do more. It's not blowing my head up. It just makes me more happy and confident to keep doing a certain kind of content for you that I can tell people are enjoying. So I want to keep doing this and not do other content anymore. So all of those comments are great, and I hope it's all true, but it's also inspirational to me to keep wanting to do that good stuff, right? Oh, cool, Philo. It's just all about me trying to be fair to that person, but I think it's worth listening to because I make a case for the whole thing. And it's not about hating on people that are criticizing. It's just about, man, we've been so long looking down at this guy and seeing him as, like, I'm sympathetic. I've been a villain. I've been looked at as a villain, even though I'm just a guy. I'm a human being. And I stopped and said, let's just look at Matt Mercer like a normal person, because that's all he is. Just a normal human nerd. And how different is what he's doing from what a lot of us do? Not much. And no matter how rich he is, he's allowed to be a nerd. It's not like he loses his right to be like the rest of us because he has some money, because people like him. He doesn't lose his right to be a nerd and to be accepted as one, and to be more open to his statements and be accepting, and just try to not consider he's trying to run this or do this, but stop and think before you assume all these things about what he's doing. Is he just talking like other nerds you heard? And when you really stop and listen and really take it in that way, you start realizing Matt Mercer is a lot more like us than we give him credit for. That's my personal opinion. Yeah. Oh no, I'm glad. And the other thing is I like the instrumental stuff, and I noticed that has been working well with a certain part of the audience, and I really enjoy that. Sometimes I think my commentary, like dry commentary, can be a little boring to get through. The live streams are different because I'm interacting with you, so I think that's a different stimulation to keep you here. But with that, I almost look at my videos like a music video. Or sometimes I'll strip away the instrumental and I think I'm saying something sometimes important or certain details, or I think it's necessary just to be straight on the ball. No bells, no whistles. It would be insulting to the topic, right? Most of the time, I sort of look at them like sort of mini music videos where I think the beat and all that plays well. It is in supporting what I'm saying. I purposely am putting instrumental in to support a mood I'm trying to get across. Like it's something I'm actually communicating to you, that tone. So that is important to me, and I am communicating something to you through that music. I really am. That's intentional. I'm not just putting it in there because it's cool. I really mean this because I've been using this stuff for a long time. I don't put it in there to be cool. I put it in there to help me deliver my message to you. And I think it gives impact to a lot of what I say, and it makes it easier to get through some of the stuff. Right? Like I might have 20 minutes of stuff to say, but it's like, well, yeah, and it's cool. It's cool because there's some, but it's also communicating something. So there's a variety of things that instrumental background does for me. So I'm really happy about that, right? Like, really, really am. And do I think I hit on some important videos recently? Yeah, I really do. I think I'm on these fact-based stuff. I think everyone's happy. One of the most impressive streams I've done, it's on my backup channel, but it's in the playlist of my streams, It's my coverage of OD&D and AD&D. Like mainly AD&D first edition. So Advanced Dungeons and Dragons first edition was done on my backup channel, but you'll find the link for the stream in the playlist for the fact-based videos. DM Bloodworth, this is how me and him connected, right? Oh, AD&D 1E nerds are the hardest people I've ever had tried to please in statements. So you say something, they will agree with some of it, they'll disagree with some, and they'll pick everything apart, right? Never ever gotten through a conversation with an AD&D 1E guy without that mindset happening. But I totally get it. That's part of being a nerd. I did that stream. He, especially picky guy, went and watched it, and he said, man, you were spot on from start to finish. Privately, I had another guy tell me that too, and I don't have a single complaint or pick apart comment about that stream. I would say it's one of my proudest streams as far as going after a very hard-minded crowd compared to everything else I'm covering. Hardest guys to please. Went and did it. Bang. The Hyperborea, we did the Hyperborea. Steve Kennedy loves Hyperborea. Steve Kennedy loves BECME. And yes, Stephen Kennedy, I don't know if I'm sure you probably have dug into it somewhere. There is BECME coverage with the original. I did original and BECME together because I felt like you can't do them separate. There's only so much to say on OD&D. There's a lot more to say on BECME. But I felt like I had to do the two of them because they so are married together. Now, Steve Kennedy would know this. He's a BECME guy. He knows what I'm saying. OD&D and BECME are so attached at the hip that to separate them in conversation, you can't. So when I did the stream, I just, instead of like doing just like I did AD&D 1, I did AD&D second edition separate. I did OD&D and BECME together, period. Because they're attached at the hip. And to cover the history of BECME, you have to understand the history of OD&D. And that means, in a way, I have to bring it up anyway. So why not just, instead of having separate ones, I just did them together. Oh, yeah, Steve Kennedy loves Hyperborea. He loves BECME. He loves a lot of stuff. Just about everything I'm covering, I think Stephen Kennedy has appreciation for. And like he said before to me, and I agree with him, it's a lot of just beautiful stuff forgotten in the past. And with so much corporate crap nowadays and so many game designers making games in different ways, I think they just forgot about the lessons we learned and the ideas and things we tried in the past that just have not been repeated. I think a lot of great things like tunnels and trolls, some of the concepts have just been left by a lot of people. Like, I know the fans of tunnels and trolls love it. Like a guy like Garrett probably loves it just like me, right? I know Black Rose will too. But I talk to a lot of guys that don't know about that game. They know of it. Yeah, tunnels and trolls, that old game. Probably an old, I even heard guys, like probably an old stupid game by now. I'm like, no, dude, if you think that, you don't know. If you think that, you don't know. Right? That was personally. Dying Earth? No, not exactly. But we're going to be covering it because I am going to go over it. What I say is, not exactly. It's unfair to say. I call it a drunk experience. So if you ask me about it, I have a hard time remembering the entire thing. I played it for a month. I think every weekend we went to play it. I was drunk by the time we started, and I was fucking shit-faced by the end of it. Had a great time. Don't remember fucking much of it. Yeah. It's probably the only game it's one of the only things that and another experience I had was drunk. I don't drink like I did at sort of a small period of time in my life, but there was a short period of time where I drank too much. You never heard of Tunnels and Trolls? This is the type of guy I was really going to. Phil, I'm glad you're going to check this out. Many people like you. So guys like Garrett might not even know how many of you are up there. And I was just like, I need to get this game, because even in the game designers, there's a lot of game designers making OSR stuff. And I'm like, hey, wait, hold up. Check this out. You might want to know this, right? Really important stuff, right? Let's see. I am going to be covering some stuff soon. this doesn't lead to any weird connections, but let me just pitch some of the streams that are coming up so you guys know. So casual talk is next. We're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons combat with dragons, goblins, and boulets. Dragons, goblins, and boulets. And then we're going to do Traveler. So that's the next one. I'm going to jump back over here. Traveler. I don't know how many of you know Traveler, but it's a beloved game by a lot of people. A lot of people. Jeez. If I get that wrong, I'm going to get raked over the coals. So this might be in the vein of the AD&D 1 type of coverage. Traveler is a beloved game. A very beloved game. And people that love it, whew, man, if I get that wrong, I'm going to hear it. So I'm hoping that that out of the park, right? Say, throw a tribute check. If you don't know, now you know. There you go, baby. That's it. You got it. You got it. If you don't know, now you know. Stephen Kennedy reaches my heart with those simple. Like, I think he's a guy that it's like, you ever meet one of those guys where they'll talk funny, you won't understand what they're saying, but you'll see some guy stand beside him going, yeah, I know what you mean. And you understand that other guy understands this shit, but you don't. You're just like, what does he mean by that? Do you like that? I've been around so many nerds, right? That I appreciate nerds. I love nerds. I love nerds the way they are. They're not like normal people. I love them and I understand them. I really, truly do. Traveler 2nd Edition. Heard of many legends of Traveler. Never got to play. Looking forward to that one. Whew, that's going to be a good one, man. Really a good one. I hope to even get you wanting to try it out, right? And Blackroot. I love Traveler even with the miniatures. Craig's old school. Like, I'm glad. I hope you'll be around for that because I want you to check me on that, right? Make sure I'm getting that right because I know when guys like it, they like it, and you can't bullshit about these things. I want to get these things right. Stephen Kennedy, he's like me. He's touched a lot of things, which is cool, but he's also like me. He can appreciate what is there and go back to the old and just like Beckme, for example, right? I remember we played really old characters. Everyone had so long education. We played people who would be close to retirement age. I love silly shit like that. Like some guy going, hey, DM. Because, look, I don't like ideas that are really going to fuck with what I'm trying to do. But there's sometimes players bring me ideas where I don't want to say no because I like it. I've had some cool, Craig. I'm going to be excited. I'm glad you're going to be there and keep me check on that one, please. And I know you'll have some good stuff to say on that, so that will be great. But yeah, when it comes to like, say, I remember playing 2nd Edition or run 2nd Edition, a guy would come up to me. He's like, all right, Steven, I'm going to play a fighter, but I want to have my stats get a little hurt. He goes, what do you mean? He says, could I take a point off con and put it on intelligence or wisdom and say my character's really old? I'd be like, that's all? He just wanted to play like an old warrior. Like a guy who had finally put it up, but here he is for whatever reason. He's being drugged back out to fight again, to adventure, because nobody has a guy and they need a guy. And he wanted to play this type of old retired warrior, but he really wanted that to be real by taking a hit on the con, right? And we put it on wisdom. And he didn't care that it was just a fighter. It's all about the role play for the wisdom, right? And he liked role play, really loved role play. And I love all aspects of the game. So I was totally down. I was like, 1,000,000 fucking %, I'll let you do that. Instantly. I say yes to a lot. I think other DMs would say no to. But I always tell players, man, don't like if there's no halflings here, that's clearly what I want to say. I want to say no to that. So bring me the fucking cool idea, man. And I always like to get players hyped on the idea that I'll say yes to cool things. Because then players see me do it and then they're less bitter. Then I go from players asking me about the halfling that's not in the world to, shit, this guy wants to say yes to ideas. that are cool, and they see another guy do a cool thing, and the inspiration to go, I can't miss on that, man. Steven will say yes. All right, fuck the halfling. What else can I come up with? And I have had players just see me say yes to shit. Next thing you know, they're just like, hold on, man. Yeah, give me an hour. Like, why? Because we're not going to, we're just sort of meeting up to get characters done. I'm just going to go over here and just work on some shit. Like, before the end of the night, I'm going to come over with a pitch for you. Right? Okay. And it won't be some, weird background story. It's just it's a Eureka Bell moment where it's like, holy fuck, he'll say yes to a lot of shit. Boom, boom, boom. Let me go over here. If it makes sense in the world, I usually allow it. It's exactly that. That's all it is. But it's also them realizing that there's a lot of ideas that don't need to fuck with it. Like, it's almost like players forget that. Yeah, there's no halflings, I'll play halfling. That's a simple idea, dude. I'm not trying to tear you down, but I want something. Like, if you want to be creative, be really, truly creative and appreciate what I'm doing. Because the more you play into it, it's the more it's cool. I actually want you to enjoy what I'm offering you, not to feel like you need to counter or be special, or if you're going to be special, be whatever special is in the thing. Like, what's special in that, not what's special separate from it. 2 points for one. But yes, and look, if you can come up with something good, I've seen guys come to me with a race that I want to say no, I would say no to because it doesn't fit in the world. But then I realized, because there's some really creative guys out there where their attempt is not to counter what I'm doing. I'm like, yeah, I totally know you don't have these, and I know for this reason it wouldn't fit, but what about this and this reason? Okay, I can do that. See, when I say players come pitch me something, it's not like I just want to say no to everything. But man, you got to get me excited. It's not hard too. I'm a hobbyist. I'm a nerd like you. I don't want to say no. I want to fucking have a great time. So if you can hype me on your idea, forget it. You're in. You'll get your fucking halfling. That'll be it. There's no halflings in the world, but that's so fucking cool how you came up with that idea for the halfling. Jesus fuck, man. Now, if you say you don't want to play it, I'd be disappointed. I love getting into that spot. That gets me excited. Like, it's like when you pitch me something like that, where I'm just like, now I don't want you to change it. Just no. Now we got to do the halfling. It's just that has to happen. It's too cool. I got lucky. I've been spoiled with a lot of good players over the years. So, and that's not easy. I'm sympathetic to some guys. There's some players out there that can play unique things. And let's all be honest. There are some players that either they just can't at the moment. They need to improve over time, or they need to get to a different place. But there's some guys that can. I've gotten lucky with meeting a lot of guys that could play and just want to role play, not blow up the game. That they actually can handle it without breaking things. And there's some really crazy ideas I'll say yes to. I think other people talked about this. Max Liao has been interviewed with me. He's had some guys that came to him with ideas, and he's had that story. I've had that same experience where it's, shit, I'd say no to anyone else, but I'll say yes to you. Right? It's getting players you can trust with something, because there's some ideas out there that if you give it to the wrong player, you can blow up the game. Like, it could just spoil certain things where it's like you realize it's not working. So you need players that want to go to a little too crazy zones to be able to handle that and make it work. Halflings and Hyperport. I'd still, just on the front of it, no. On the front of it, no. But like, if you told me he was cursed by somebody and brought there, right? That he was dragged there to be used as some weird slave, but he got free, and he has no idea where he is. Like, what the fuck what's this place? What the fuck, I can't survive here. And he has to start meeting up with actual Hyperborea characters so he can survive. That could sell. But you need to use the world to justify the bringing him in. They want to turn him into a slave. These are elements all in the Hyperborea. It's imagine him being called like a familiar to a spellcaster or something. But he gets free. He's like, oh, okay, I'm getting out of here. And next thing you know, Hyperborea, there you are playing a rogue halfling. But it actually works. It doesn't actually insult the thing you're doing. And you make it harder on them. You make the place a little bit like not made for them. Of course. So that player knows they have to face some unique challenges if there's limitations on what you're doing, right? It's all cool. You can make these things work, but it doesn't mean every idea is just yes. If it's too simple, it's too counter to the thing, it's no. And I'm okay with saying no. But I always tell people, look, it's no initially on that thing, but I'm open to other ideas. You want to go back to the drawing board and try that again? I'm totally willing. I don't get sourpuss over people trying to push stuff. I don't even get mad at people. Like some DMs would get mad at players and see them live. Come on, man. And he just like go on to this guy. He'd be like, all right, dude, sure, I'd watch that. And I don't know how many players I would pick up from them getting turned away because they had an idea. They'll be like, all right, dude, get your ass over here. Like, oh, Stephen, hi. Okay, I'm not going to exactly say yes to just anything, but let's talk. I get it. You want to do something unique, right? And I bring them into my game. I don't know how many guys DMs refuse to run because just simply they asked, could I play the gnome when there was no gnomes? And they had a conflict with the DM and left. And they're like, get your ass over here. Because I know they want to play no matter what they're saying. And I don't get mad at players. I don't get angry at players. I don't get emotionally angry. Bingo, the halfling thief. There you go. Steve, you get it, dude. You get it. But yeah, I'd call players over going, I know you want to play, right? They'd be like, yeah. Okay. Make it work for me here. Maybe I can make it work for you. So I'd sit down and go, okay, you want to play something unique here? And they'd look over the options. Yeah, I'd like to do this. Okay, I'm going to teach you something. Let's talk. What? We're going to come up with a cool idea for how that works. I'm going to help you. And I tell players, I want you to learn from what I'm doing. And the new young player would be like, okay. So I teach them. You don't just ask for the halfling or the gnome when they're not there. That's too simple. You will get rejected, right? In many cases. So let's find an interesting way of making that alternative thing work where it does. And I teach players. All the DM wants to know is that you respect what he wants. That's all the DM needs to know up front. That your pitch is not about insulting his work. Because that's the way a lot of DMs just take it. They say no halflings, you ask for a halfling, that's spitting in their face. It's the way they take it. I'm not saying you are. I'm saying that's the way they take it. So I would teach these players, get them in my game, but I teach them for future games. When you pitch something, you have to respect what the DM is selling you. That's all you got to do. And if you can make your pitch respect what that guy wants, because that's his passion. I would tell players, you don't understand. You come here and you're playing your character having fun, right? The world is his character. This is how he has fun. So it's like, you know how you don't want your player agency fucked with, or you don't want your character fucked with? Be like, yeah. What you're doing is fucking with his stuff. And they'd start cluing in like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, you see how you don't like it? And you got to respect each other. So that doesn't mean you can't ask for the gnome or the halfling, but you got to respect that guy. That's his passion. That's how he plays the game. So don't try to fuck that up for him, right? He'll come back to the table just like you because you're both having fun. It's a team sport. So both parties have to be happy. And as long as you both understand, it's like I tell players, game masters are not your slaves. They're not players too, but in a way they are playing. They are participating like you and they have their own passion. That's their world. So you just got to understand you can't make it about just you. When you pitch something, either you're just okay to work with the thing that's already there, or if you want to pitch something unique, it has to respect the game master. Simple as that, you're good. All right? And once I teach players that, they play my game for a while. They leave. Game master would get them and go, yeah, man, that guy was great. Because I taught them. I always taught players how to deal with that stuff. Because what I do is I spent a lot of years being a player. So I learned what to do right as a player. And I actually respected the game master rule. So I'd always learn how to, and then later when I became just a DM, I just always teach players what they got to do. Right? That's it. Have those talks with them. Boom, they're in. But now they've learned. And so every other game they go to after that, their unique ideas are not so easily turned away, nor are they upsetting game masters with these unique ideas. Players just need to learn that that was a passion piece for the game master. And so they took it very insulting. When they'd say no halflings and you show up and you know they say no halflings and then you ask for a halfling, that is spitting in their face. So I'd see guys, players walk up, hey, can I have the halfling after it clearly communicated that there's no halflings, and the DMs will be, go. He'd be like, why? Can I talk? No, I'm not taking you on. Wouldn't even give players a chance. They cut them off because it was so insulting to them. I just told you clearly, no halflings. First fucking question you asked me, halfling, get the fuck off my table. I don't know how many DMs I've heard cursed out players. What did I fucking say to you before you got here? No halflings. What did you ask me for? Halfling. Get the fuck away from my table. No more talking. Go. And then I'd call them over. Like, come on over, guy. Let's fucking talk for a second. And I'd make sure they get into my game because I knew the player just didn't mean that. It just players didn't understand that. That's why they were confused when the DM was yelling at them. Like, I know you said no halflings, but I can't even ask. And I have to tell the player because the DM sees that as a selfish spit in his face move. So if you're going to go over and he sees it that way, you can't get him to see it as you. He sees it as him. So that's where you're at. Clash. Don't do that. So as long as you respect that guy, you can probably bring in 50 million ideas. That's your only rule. There. I hope we're still good because I'm not seeing any more chat come up, but I'm just, if you ever find players doing that, that's calm yourself as a game master. Don't get upset with people and have that talk, man. Like, look, dude, you got to respect what I'm doing here. That's it. And so I don't know how many players, because I ran for over 2,000 players, so I become comfortable with just, I'd be like, no halflings. They come up, halfling. I'm like, all right, good, let's have a talk. I'm not mad. Let's talk. We'll see if we can do something for you here. But you're not just going to get a plain halfling. And, it's telling them. Either you're socially unaware, but I would want to find out because some players, I think, intentionally were being a little bit rude. Like, it's like, so what? You want to play halflings? I want to play halfling. But in a way, I sort of got that too because that came from ignorance. It's still, he doesn't understand why that attitude doesn't work. Like, if you want that DM to keep running for you, he needs to keep his passion. He needs to be happy with what he's doing. If he does get, I don't know how many DMs give in the stuff where it's like they don't want to, and then that campaign never gets done, that game master ends that game or walks away. So, and I've seen it so frequently that I'm like, I always tell game masters too, never say yes to something you don't want. So you're in the right to reject it. But, if you can be patient like me, you can have the talk and you can get past, you can explain why the attitude of, oh, fuck it, I should be able to play the halfling, why that just doesn't fly. Right? Pro players suck. I hope everybody did and drift speed. I really appreciate the comments you left tonight. Really, like I said earlier, that type of stuff inspires me to keep doing even harder work for you, doing a lot more, which I'll be doing, right? Really happy. Doesn't blow my head up in the wrong way. Just makes me want to do way more, right? Way more confident about it, way more happy to see people enjoying that stuff, right? I really mean that. So I do appreciate what you said. Totally noticed that. Good on you. And everyone, I really hope you enjoyed tonight. We're in 2 hours, and I think I'm about to call it here, dude. Guys, right? I think I'm going to call it here. So I do love you all. If you're just getting here late, you can rewind, check out this stuff, check it out tomorrow. If you haven't had a chance to check out everything, I really think this stream is worth your time for everyone. Tunnels and Trolls is so unique. I don't think anybody in the hobby wouldn't find a way to connect with this. I really believe that. I think it's a game where anybody could play. And I know they're not supposed to exist, but this is too simple. And I think the simplicity is what breaks the rule. Like this is a game everyone can play and want to play because it's a weird simplicity, unlike many other games. Yeah, I think some of the one-page games are similar to that and inspired by ideas from like Tunnels and Trolls. There you go. Okay, guys. I love you.